You walked into work on a Tuesday and everything was normal. By Thursday, there was a company-wide email, and by Friday, your badge did not work. You never saw it coming, and that is exactly what everyone who gets laid off says. But the truth is that the signs were there for months. You just did not know what they looked like. Layoffs are never a surprise to the people making the decision. They are only ever a surprise to the people on the list. There are 5 signs that a layoff is coming, visible months before the announcement, and the last one is the reason a group of people you have never met suddenly appeared in your office and nobody explained why. Here is why layoffs are always telegraphed long before they are announced. A layoff is not a decision that happens in a single meeting. It is the final step of a financial planning process that has been running for months, through budget reviews, headcount projections, cost per employee analyses, and senior leadership conversations that happen 2 to 3 levels above most employees' visibility. By the time the announcement reaches you, the list has been reviewed by legal, approved by the board, and rehearsed by HR. The only thing left is telling you, and that is the part they have been preparing for the longest. The signs exist at every stage of that runway. You just need to know what to look for, and most people are not looking because they have been told that layoffs come without warning. They do not. They come without explanation, which is a very different thing. Counting down from 5. Sign number 5. The hiring freeze nobody announced. 3 months ago, your team had 2 open positions. The job postings were live. Interviews were being scheduled. Your manager mentioned bringing someone on to handle the overflow. Then, quietly, without an announcement, without an email, without anyone saying the word freeze, the postings disappeared. The interviews stopped being scheduled. Your manager stopped mentioning the new hire. Nobody told you hiring was frozen because nobody uses that language until it is too late to matter. What they say instead is we are reevaluating the role, or we are waiting for approval, or we are focusing on internal capacity first. This looks like the week you noticed the job listing for the analyst role was taken down, and when you asked your manager about it, they said the timing was not right without explaining what changed about the timing. The takeaway: when open positions silently disappear from your team, the organization has already started tightening the budget that pays for headcount, and headcount is always the largest line item on any team's budget. Sign number 4, meetings about efficiency and restructuring. When leadership starts scheduling meetings with titles that include words like efficiency, optimization, right sizing, or operational alignment, those meetings are not about improving processes. Those meetings are about reducing costs. And in most organizations, the single largest controllable cost is people. The language is deliberately abstract because the purpose of the language is to create institutional distance between the decision and its human consequence. Right sizing does not sound like firing 40 people, but that is what it means. This looks like the month your department suddenly had 3 alignment sessions. You and your manager came out of each one looking quieter than when they went in. The takeaway: track the language in leadership communications over a 3-month period. When words like streamline, optimize, efficiency, and right size start appearing in emails and meeting agendas that did not previously use that vocabulary, the cost reduction process has already begun, and headcount is usually the largest item on the table. The company already knows. The email is just the announcement. Sign number 3, senior leaders are leaving voluntarily. When a vice president or a senior director leaves a company voluntarily, especially when the departure is quiet, quick, and accompanied by a vague internal announcement about pursuing new opportunities, that is not one person making a career move. That is a person with access to information you do not have making a decision based on that information. Senior leaders know what is coming before anyone else because they are in the rooms where the financial planning happens. When they start leaving, they are not running from the present. They are running from a future they can see and you cannot. This looks like the quarter where 2 directors resigned within 6 weeks of each other, and the internal announcement both times said the same thing about pursuing new opportunities while everyone in the corridor quietly asked the same question nobody would answer out loud. The takeaway: when senior leaders start leaving voluntarily in clusters, they are acting on information about the company's financial trajectory that has not been shared with you. Their departure is the signal. Their silence about why is the confirmation. Sign number 2, your team's budget got quietly frozen. Budget freezes happen before headcount reductions, always. Before an organization cuts people, it cuts spending. Travel gets restricted, training budgets get suspended, software subscriptions get reviewed, contractor agreements get shortened or not renewed. The company is tightening every discretionary line item to delay or reduce the headcount cut, and if those savings are not enough, the headcount cut comes next. The budget freeze is not a separate event from the layoff. It is the first phase of the same event. This looks like the month your team's travel policy changed, your training request was deferred indefinitely, and the contractor who had been working with you for 8 months was suddenly not renewed, all within the same quarter, each with its own separate reasonable explanation. The takeaway: when multiple cost cutting measures hit your team in the same quarter, do not evaluate each one separately. Evaluate them as a pattern, because the pattern is budget preparation for a headcount decision that has not been announced yet. But none of those signs compare to sign number one, and this is the one that most employees dismiss entirely because it looks like a normal business decision. By the time they tell you, the list has been final for weeks. Sign number one: consultants appeared and nobody explained why. 1 week, there are new faces in the office. They are not new hires. They do not have the uncertain energy of someone learning the environment. They move through the building with quiet confidence. They sit in meetings with senior leadership that you are not invited to. They request access to data and systems that are usually restricted. And when you ask your manager who they are, the answer is vague, something about a strategic review or an operational assessment. Those people are management consultants, and they are almost never brought in to validate that things are working well. Consultants are brought in to provide institutional cover for decisions that leadership has already directionally agreed to, but needs external validation to justify internally. The consultant's report will recommend exactly what leadership wanted to do anyway: restructure, reduce headcount, consolidate functions, but now the decision has an external stamp on it that makes it harder for anyone inside the organization to challenge. The consultants are not analyzing whether layoffs should happen. They are building the presentation that explains why they had to. This looks like the month a team from a consulting firm you had never heard of started appearing in the building twice a week, and your manager's only response when asked was that it was part of a strategic review without explaining what was being reviewed or why. The takeaway: when external consultants appear in your organization and leadership is vague about their purpose, the restructuring process is already underway. The consultants are not the warning. They are the confirmation that the warning phase is over and the execution phase has begun. By the time consultants arrive, the question is no longer whether layoffs will happen. It is when and who. Here is the honest closing. Layoffs are never a surprise to the institution. They are planned, budgeted, legally reviewed, and strategically timed, months before anyone in the organization hears the word restructuring in an official context. The 5 signs in this video are not predictions. They are the institutional footprint of a process that is already running. Knowing the signs does not stop the layoff, but it gives you time. And time is the only asset that lets you prepare instead of react. Knowing the signs is step 1. Knowing whether you specifically are on the list is step 2. I break down exactly how to tell if you are personally at risk in the next video. The warning was always there. The only question is what you do with the time you have left.